bells, yeah. Sure.
I see my signal.
I don't know if someone in the back can't hear that thing. I think it's talking. Now all the kids 5 and up can get vaccinated. I hope they do. Yeah, there was a joke in the USA Today. They had 3 mothers outside the office with sick kids coming to get vaccinated. They all had signs, no vaccination for my children. And the little boy's walking out and he says, grow up. Oh, my goodness. Funny how they all had vaccinations, and all of a sudden this one they don't like. Uh-huh. Opening words are from Horace Gilmore, Judge of the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Michigan. It is impossible to thoroughly analyze and present Judge Mccree's contributions to the jurisprudence of this country. Suffice it to say that they are significant and great.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Universalist Unitarian Church of Farmington. My name is Mccree Jr, and I'm part of the fundraising committee here at UUCF. Please join me in the shared affirmation of UUCF's mission, which is printed on your order of service. We seek answers everywhere, include everyone, and live with compassion. Thank you. Our minister, Reverend Glenn Farley, is out of the pulpit today, and we are fortunate to have Mr. Paul Bailey with us today. Paul is a longtime member of UUCF and a Chrysler retiree. He and his wife, Nancy, live in Garden City with 3 cats. I'd like to extend a special welcome to any visitors today. After the service, we'll be gathering outside. We happen to have held our auction, our service auction, and silent auction last night, so we'll be picking up some items outside, directly outside the doors after the service today. But we can also socialize and get to know you. Usually when indoors, of course, we are observing COVID precautions and we are wearing masks regardless of vaccination status. If you are visiting us for the first time and you are comfortable doing so, we invite you to please stand and tell us where you're from and how you heard about us. We'd like to meet you. Anybody new today? Yes, sir.
I'm from UUA. I was a member since '95, and I helped move this church in when I was like 17, I'm not sure.
Oh my goodness. Thank
that
you.
was in the Farmington location before we moved here. So that was a surprise to me. I didn't know you had moved this whole building.
Well, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Anyone else here new today? Yes.
Yeah, I'm Justin. This is Amber. We're from Novi, near Walled Lake, and we're just here today. So, yeah, it's nice to meet you all.
Terrific. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. And we'd just like everybody to know religious education classes are being held in the social hall during the service for youth. An usher can direct you to that location if needed. And a little bit later in the service, we're going to do joys and sorrows. And so if you have a joy or a sorrow that you'd like to share with the rest of the congregation, you can either fill out a blue card that will be collected during the offering and read later in the service, or you can text me personally. My number is at the beginning of the order of service with the number 310. As we begin our service, we remember that our UU principles begin with our pledge to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of all people. We are a welcoming congregation, and we welcome into our community people of all races, sexual orientations, gender identities, and belief systems. We have just a couple of announcements here. Let's see. Oh, that was in my text, yes. So bear with me just a moment here. Board game night is coming up again this Saturday from 1 to 6 p.m. I'll be there. Join us for board games and fun. Childcare is provided if you need it. Just RSVP to James Sanchez's email, which is listed in the order of service. And I think, we are ready for our first hymn. Please join me as you are, and rise as you are willing and able for number 118 in your blue hymnal, This Little Light of Mine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building of the world. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Bailey.
Thank you, Mark. The reading is from Time Magazine, October 23rd, 1978. Uncle Sam's attorney. Arguing before the Supreme Court may be the stuff of lawyers' dreams, a once-in-a-lifetime experience. But for a gentle-looking black lawyer named Wade H. Mccree Jr., once a month is more like it. Dressed in striped trousers and traditional morning coat, Mccree, 58, appears before the black-robed justices as the lawyer for the U.S. government as Solicitor General. He is responsible for arguing and briefing the government's position before the Supreme Court. He also decides what cases lost by the government in lower courts will be appealed. Little understood outside legal circles, this role is crucial to shaping the law. By rejecting 2/3 of all the cases the government could appeal, Mccree acts as a gatekeeper for the overburdened courts. Mccree is supported by a staff of 18 lawyers that has been called by the former D.C. Bar Association President John Douglas the most prestigious blue ribbon law office in the United States. All staff members were in the top 2% of their law school. Most are young and could be earning considerably more. Instead, they accept salaries in 1978 ranging from $22,000 to $47,000 to play in the big leagues, as Mccree puts it. The Solicitor General says, "We have the excitement of being in the eye of the hurricane." Mccree made it professionally long before affirmative action programs were there to help him. Attorney General Griffin Bell said, "There is rarely a point of law that Wade is not familiar with. He is articulate, has a good legal mind, and a wide knowledge of the law. He is also an indomitable composer of limericks." When Benjamin Civiletti's nomination as Deputy Attorney General came under fire from Wyoming Senator Malcolm Wallop and New York Times columnist William Safire, Mccree amused Bell with this limerick. Dyspeptic William Safire has a penchant for kindling Bell's ire. He excelled in distortion of the grossest proportion, and walloped and rolled in the mirror. A dapper dresser who walks 2 miles to work 6 days, sometimes 7 a week, Mccree is married and the father of 3 grown children, one of them already practicing law in Detroit. According to Mccree, his only reservation about leaving the bench to take the $52,500 a year Solicitor General's job was a $5,000 pay cut. But he shrugs, "If I wanted to be rich, I would not have gone into public service in the first place." special thank you to the Sunday Services Committee for the chance to give a talk today. It is indeed an honor. Also, a special thank to you, Diana, for the music you chose to play today. 4 Unitarian composers. Also for the great job you always do. Before I start my talk, let me say that I knew Wade just a little bit when I was a member of First Church in Detroit. At the time, Judge Mccree was on the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, and I also heard Judge Mccree speak at the Fisher Theater. Recently, I decided to find out a little more about him. The only books on Judge Mccree, 56, are all about the cases he argued before the Supreme Court or as a special master appointed by the Supreme Court. Wade Mccree Jr. was born in Des Moines, Iowa, July 3, 1920. His father, Wade Mccree Sr., operated the first black-owned pharmacy in Iowa and was a federal narcotics inspector for the Food and Drug Administration. Wade Sr.'s work took his family to Hawaii, Illinois, and Massachusetts. Wade received his formal education in the public schools of Hawaii, Illinois, and Massachusetts. After the family moved to Boston, Wade attended the prestigious Boston Latin School, the oldest school in the United States. The school has a distinguished group of alumni, including founding fathers John Hancock and Samuel Adams, and poet, philosopher, and Unitarian Ralph Waldo Emerson, along with Joseph P. Kennedy, the U.S. Ambassador to the United Kingdom and father of the 35th president, also attended the school. The school opened its doors in 1635, more than a century before the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Wade acquired a strong interest in poetry, ancient history, mythology, and language while at Boston Latin School. After his graduation, he abandoned his plans to attend the University of Iowa when informed that he would not be allowed residence in the campus dormitories. He was then accepted at Fisk University and graduated summa cum laude with Phi Beta Kappa in 1941. He entered the Harvard Law School in the fall of 1941, but found his law school education abruptly interrupted by his induction into the Army. He served 4 years of active duty during World War II, almost 2 years of which were spent in combat in the Mediterranean. Wade fought in 3 of the Italian campaigns as a member of the historic and segregated Buffalo Soldier Division. He won a Bronze Star and a Combat Infantryman badge. Always an avid student of language, Captain Mccree became fluent in Italian while stationed in Italy. Mccree earned his LLB degree from Harvard in 1944 while still in the Army. He received an honorable discharge in 1946. Upon his return from the war, Mccree Jr. married Dores Mccree, a student at Boston's Simmons College. She received a master's degree in library science. They moved to her hometown of Detroit, where they raised 3 children. When his eldest daughter was refused admission to an all-girls school in Detroit because she was black, Mccree founded the Interracial Friends School in 1945. He was also a founder of the statewide Higher Education Opportunity Committee, a program which identifies promising middle school students and provides them with college scholarships. With his Harvard Law degree in hand and a reference letter from the dean of Harvard Law School, Mccree figured to be a good legal prospect when he moved to Detroit in the late 40s. But the scourge of segregation got in his way. As a dedicated World War II veteran, he looked even more impressive to a prominent Detroit law firm that invited him to apply for an opening, evidently unaware of his skin color. The invitation was withdrawn the minute he walked in the door, according to the legal news profile. In 1948, Mccree joined Belso and Taylor, a black law firm in Detroit. However, his time in private practice was short. His abilities became apparent early in his legal career. In 1952, Michigan Governor G. Mennen Williams appointed him to the Michigan Workmen's Compensation Committee, where he served for 2 years. In 1954, he was appointed by Governor Williams as the first black judge to serve on the Wayne County Circuit Court. Although his initial term of office on the court was by appointment, Judge Mccree was required to run for election to retain his seat on the court. Not only did he win the election, but Judge Mccree became the first black judge to win an election in Michigan history. His election success in 1955 laid to rest the claims that a black could not win county-wide elective office. It was also the first of 2 such successful popular elections. During Judge Mccree's second term on the Wayne County Circuit Court, President John F. Kennedy appointed him to the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Michigan. He was the 3rd black to be appointed to the federal bench. Judge Mccree was elevated to the 6th Circuit Court of Appeals by President Lyndon B. Johnson and became the first black appointed to the 6th Court. Judge Mccree served on both the state and federal bench with distinction. According to his colleagues and friends, he was born to be a judge. And this from Pierce Lively, Chief Judge, U.S. Court of Appeals for the 6th Circuit. Wade had a marvelously agile and inquiring mind. The entire realm of human knowledge interested him. He had a remarkable memory. The vast store of knowledge that he accumulated always seemed available for retrieval and use. His ability to recite poetry and song lyrics, both familiar and obscure, were legendary. He relished the intellectual challenges of a difficult case, but never lost sight of the fact that the litigants were real people. Wade dealt with whatever biases he had by practicing a rigorous self-discipline that required him to view even the most emotion-laden legal disputes with near total objectivity. His colleagues and friends did not only admire his objectivity, they were amazed and frequently put to shame by it. His efforts to relieve the tension of a heated debate with bits of doggerel or a hastily written limerick endeared him to all who worked with him. Mccree often recited lengthy passages of Latin and Greek entirely from memory, wooing his friends and colleagues with his intellectual capacity. From the beginning, it was clear that Judge Mccree possessed the skill, ability, and character to excel. Mccree was known as the Poet Laureate of the 6th Circuit, a reference both to the command of language in his opinions and to his ability for writing impromptu limericks. In 1977, Mccree was appointed by President Jimmy Carter to become Solicitor General. As Solicitor General, he served as the head appeals lawyer for the government and represented the administration in cases before the High Court. He personally argued 25 cases before the Supreme Court, including the Nixon presidential tapes case. After Ronald Reagan took office, Mccree resigned, then became the Lewis Sims Professor of Law at the University of Michigan, where he taught until his death. During these years, he also consulted on various cases and was appointed special master by the Supreme Court to handle cases of original jurisdiction. It came as no surprise to those who knew him that Wade would excel as a law professor as he had as a lawyer, judge, and solicitor general. Professor Mccree had been a legal educator long before he joined the law faculty at the University of Michigan. He had been a frequent lecturer at law schools throughout the United States and was a member of the law faculty for the Salzburg Seminar in American Studies in Austria in 1969. As a judge, Mccree served as a member of the board of the National Judicial College at the University of Nevada, Reno. The Supreme Court appointed him special master in 3 special cases. One of the cases, California versus Texas, involved an estate tax dispute between the states over the multi-billion-dollar estate of Howard Hughes, which Mccree settled out of court. Maurice Kelman, Wayne State University law professor and one of Judge Mccree's former law clerks, said the Supreme Court named him 3 different times as special master in litigation. For law students, law clerks, presidents, or the Supreme Court, his door was always open to those who needed him. Mccree's career spanned over 40 years. He received 30 honorary degrees. He gave many speeches to the more than 50 civic and cultural activities that he was involved in during his life. Judge Mccree cared deeply about education, was a founder of the Higher Education Opportunities Committee at Wayne State University, a founding trustee of Friends School in Detroit, and he was a trustee at Fisk University and a member of the visiting school committees of Harvard Law School and Mercer University Law School. He also served as an overseer of Harvard College and the University of Pennsylvania Law School, and on the visiting committees of the law schools at Wayne State, the University of Chicago, Case Western Reserve University, and the University of Miami. In 1956, Mccree was a U.S. delegate to the Third United Nations Congress on the Prevention of Crime and the Treatment of Offenders in Stockholm, Sweden. He was a director of the Economic Club of Detroit, the Burroughs Corporation of the National Bank of Detroit Bancorp Incorporated. From a newsletter of the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Detroit, September 16, 2007, Reverend Drew Johnston. Longtime members of First UU will remember that Kathleen and David Lewis were married here by the Reverend Anthony Perino in 1968, with nearly 700 relatives and friends witnessing the union. Many of us remember Father Judge Wade H. Mccree Jr. escorting the beautiful young bride to the altar. Many of us can remember that Wade had been very active in our National General Assembly and was vice moderator of the UUA from 1965 to 1968. Some of us can recall that in early years, Wade taught RE classes to our high school youth. Current UUCF member Roberta Campbell was in one of his classes. Litigants and lawyers who appeared before Judge Mccree, college and court personnel who had close daily contact with him, and many who had only casual encounters with him were impressed by his fairness, his warmth and understanding, and the dignity with which he conducted himself. Wade served as a judge for nearly 23 years, 7 years as a Wayne County Circuit Judge, 6 years as a U.S. Court Judge, 10 years as a U.S. Court of Appeals Judge. He had great respect for the judiciary and its purpose in our society. He expressed this view in a speech to the Economic Club of Detroit on February 4th, 1980, when he said, "Perhaps the real genius of our government is that in its least powerful branch, with its tradition of self-restraint, lies the safest potential for resolution of the most divisive issues in the unfinished agenda of our democracy. If this view is correct, then the judges are indeed the ultimate guardians of our liberties." As Otis Smith, Mccree's close friend, former Michigan Supreme Court Justice and General Counsel of General Motors, stated, "I know that when lawyers talked about the ablest and fairest trial judges in Michigan, among the first to be named always was Judge Wade Mccree. His exchanges with lawyers on some of the more metaphysical properties of the law are simply priceless." Former Chief Judge Edwards of the Sixth Circuit said, "I was waiting for an elevator when a lawyer left Judge Mccree's courtroom and came to join me at the elevator. He was somewhat distraught, and without waiting, he burst out, 'Well, he beat me.' Then a pause, 'But he made me like it.'" Throughout Judge Mccree's career, his gift for administering the law helped people to understand and accept it even when losing. Horace Gilmore, judge of the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Michigan, said, "Wade Mccree was not only an outstanding judge, he was deeply dedicated to the improvement of the law and active in many law-related activities. He served for many years on the executive committee of the American Law Institute, was a fellow of the American Bar Foundation, and a member of numerous boards and commissions devoted to the improvement of the law." Governor G. Menon Williams said, "Few in our time have contributed as much to the improvement of the human condition as did Wade H. Mccree Jr. He was not only a public benefactor, but a pioneer in the field of civil rights when it was a risky thing to do. His low-key, good-humored, and easy way permitted him to establish that he was a class act of outstanding merit. Wade was esteemed not only for his gentle but firm manner, but also for the justice and wisdom of his actions." From the memorial service for Wade Mccree Jr., President Jimmy Carter said, "To me, Wade Mccree is a true American hero. His life has been devoted to the optimum use of his prodigious talents, always guided by an enlightened assessment of the foremost needs of his fellow human beings who have most needed his services and protection. A man of intelligence and high principle, Wade has been an inspiration to those like me who have been fortunate enough to work with him. He has served with quiet modesty in the highest levels of government and in his chosen profession, and there is no way to enumerate his monumental accomplishments. As a former president and his associate, and on behalf of the needy and vulnerable Americans whose cause he championed so effectively, I would like to express our nation's gratitude and condolences to the family of this great man." Judge Mccree also served on the United Automobile Workers Public Review Board. The board, funded by the UAW, acts independently on internal appeals, and its decisions are final. It has internationally recognized experts in a variety of fields, such as labor management relations, law, and ethics. Wade H. Mccree Jr. died August 30th, 1987, at the age of 67, of a heart attack, a complication of his treatment for bone cancer at Henry Ford Hospital in Detroit. He had been hospitalized since July. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Wade Mccree. We all continue, of course, to benefit from his life's work. And as we begin our offering today, our contributions help to support the mission and vision of our beloved community. The projects and people who are served reside among us as brothers and sisters in one human family. Okay, and we're moving on to joys and sorrows today. Again, if you have a joy or sorrow that you'd like to share, please feel free to text that to me. My number there is at the beginning of the service, beginning with 310. If you'll please join me in singing hymn number 95 in your blue hymnal. There is more love somewhere. Please rise as you are willing and able. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere.
By the way, I have a few articles and pictures up here if anybody's interested later. Closing words are from David Chambers, attorney, University of Michigan Law School. I learned a great deal from my conversations with Wade. What I learned were not ideas alone, but an attitude and tone to try to carry through life. He managed to see something praiseworthy in almost everyone he spoke about. He was almost never sarcastic, never cynical, never bitter, even though he had seen much in life to justify all those emotions. He had dignity without pretension, wielded authority without arrogance. All of us who are lawyers have much to learn from his example. In his last year, Wade went through much physical suffering and discomfort that quite characteristically he kept to himself. He did not want people's sympathies, let alone their pity, but there were limits to the discomfort he could suffer. Wade was in Ford Hospital. He had not spoken at all for more than a day. A nurse came into his room and needed to move him into some position that caused great pain. As she worked, she chatted to him amiably. "Does this hurt, Judge Mccree?" she asked rhetorically. Wade opened his eyes and looked at her. "You're damned right it hurts," he said, and lapsed back into another day of silence. "Does it hurt to know, Wade, that you have gone? Does it hurt to know that you will not be coming back?" "You're damned right it hurts,"